quickly about the life-changing power of good habits. What's crazy to me is that different people who are successful in different things all share the same habits. People who live in a perpetually clean house, those are the people that have the habit of making their bed every day or making sure they do the dishes and clean the kitchen each and every night. I've been told that people who are fit and healthy make exercise a daily or weekly habit. I've yet to tap into this, but apparently it's super effective. Even having financial success comes from the habit of saving weekly or monthly. And the crazy thing is there are like small things that you can do and just do every day or every week and every month that can have a huge impact on your life. I'm going to share with you my favorite habit for being happier and just overall having more success in this crazy thing we call life. Everyone that I know personally who has success in some area in their life all do this exact same thing. The best part about this habit is you can do it from your bed. You can do it from your sofa. You don't have to move at all. And that life-changing habit is reading. Now I know, before you start groaning, listen, it's not just reading any old book, it's reading self-help books. Some of them are crazy, some of them, don't pertain to you particularly, but I can guarantee you that each and every one of those best-selling self-help books have some little tidbit of information or knowledge or positive thinking little message that sinks into your subconscious, stays there, and comes out when you most need it. For me, it was reading Peter Walsh books that transformed me from totally cluttered disaster to my love of organization. I just read every organizing book I could get my hand on, and all of that information sort of sunk in and just became part of my life. I'm also huge into reading financial books. And the more I read, the more I learned, and the easier it was to turn around my horrible, dire, terrible money habits. I've read every book I can get my hand on about happiness and just leading a more happier life, and honestly, I'm way happier than I ever have been before. I may be a self-help book junkie. You should see my stack. I have my reading spot in my house, and I have a stack of like the ones I have to read coming up. But the great thing is you don't have to just sit and read. You can listen to audiobooks while driving in your car or cleaning your house or going for a walk. The point is, all of these super successful people have written books sharing with you the things that have helped make them successful, sharing their knowledge with us. And the more we read, the more we learn, the more we absorb, the better our lives become too. Whatever area in your life you really want to improve in, try reading some self-help books on the subject and see what happens. I am far from successful, but let me tell you, there was a time in my life where not only was I broke, but just living in a very dark time, making terrible choices for years, not just a little, for years, struggling, it couldn't have gotten, it could not have gotten worse. I was just in a bad, dark place. And to where I am now, it's been such a huge difference. And I think the changes that I made, of course, I stopped doing all the bad decisions, but I had to learn. I had to learn how to make the good ones. I had to learn how to manage money. I had to learn how to clean a house. I had to learn to be happy. I know that sounds crazy pants, but I really did. So I think back to all of the books that really, it was probably the first one in different areas that really impacted my life. I was very young when I first read The Secret. The Secret, that old Oprah Winfrey book, and it was like, oh my, this is freaking life-changing. And it was at the time, and since then, every book like it is like just like The Secret, and there was books before giving that same positive thinking message, but it works. The reason that it's in every self-help book is because it works, and the more I read that, the more it wanes. You finish reading a self-help book and you're like, this is amazing, and then a couple weeks later you're over it, but it's in there, and then you read another one and it brings up those same feelings and that same passion for life again. And over time, the more you absorb and the more you read, the more your life improves. It doesn't have to be expensive. Get a library book. I'm going to share with you some of my all-time favorite self-help books. Obviously, I have to share The Secret. I did love The Secret. But I also really recommend The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one that's a little less Snoresville and more hands-on is Gretchen Rubin's The Happiness Project. The first finance book that I ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it was like, this is the greatest book ever written. And of course, I've read so many more since then. The Automatic Millionaire, The Wealthy Barber. The Wealthy Barber is an excellent finance book. I'm gonna put the list below to all of my favorite self-help books. So maybe now I need to pick up some fitness books after I get through my stack of books I have to read next. The point is, if you want to be happier and healthier and have more money, grab yourself a book. Reading a book every week or every few weeks is a habit that not only can change your life, but it will change your life. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hey you guys, so thanks so much for staying to the end. Today I wanted to talk about my family, not the family that lives in this house, but like my mom mostly and my grandma growing up, and this crazy thing about us, and that is we are like ding dongs. And so it's not that we're dumb. I don't want to say we're dumb, but we do the dumbest things, like all the time. Growing up with my mom was just always like one time she was driving and for some reason the brakes just in the car wouldn't work. I was ramming this car ahead of her, pushing her, and the lady was like, oh my god, this woman's trying to kill me, because she smashed into her and then she smashed into her again. And the lady took off, and my mom kept going and she's honking the horn and she's freaking out, and she drove it right through the garage of a mechanic, like a Canadian Tire. She just was like rolling down the window, look out, the brakes don't work! Like, instead of putting it in park, shutting it off, taking the key out. Oh no, she just drove it right smashed through the garage doors and smashed everything inside. And that is, when she tells me that, we're just like, oh yeah, that's totally normal. Or like one time she was getting gas and she just drove away with the gas nozzle still in and just ripped it off and gas everywhere. Normal. Just a normal thing. One time my aunt gave my mom daffodil bulbs, which she put in a bag inside the crisper to plant in the spring, but then like a week later she discovered them, thought they were fancy onions, and put them in the stir fry. And then she was like, this stir fry tastes funny, and then she remembered. I just ate daffodil bulbs. And we had to Google to make sure they weren't poisonous. So many stories, and my grandmother's the same way, like her mom is the same way. Multiple times she'll drive around with all the groceries on her roof or her purse on the roof, and people will be honking and she'll be waving back, you know, and they're pointing up top and she's waving. And it's not like one or two times, it's a thing. My whole family, it's so many things, and I'm the same way. I do the most moronic things. Husband's always like, why didn't you just, and he'll like blah blah blah, and it's so logical, but that never comes into my head. Like at the time, I'm just, you know, I'm at a loss for words. The point is, I thought that this was learned behavior because, you know, my mom got it from her mom and I got it from my mom, that were just kind of dippy. But I met my grandmother's sister a couple of years ago. My grandma immigrated here from Jersey Channel Islands when she was a young mother, bringing my mom and her sister on a boat from Jersey Channel Islands. And her siblings were really a lot younger, and she wasn't raised with them. She had no connections with them until a few years ago they reconnected. So I met my, you know, great aunt Janet, who lived in Jersey Channel Islands, and let me tell you, she was a nut bar too. So I'm like, family! She was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and my mom's cuckoo, and my grandma's cuckoo, and my kid Abby, she's super cuckoo. So it's fascinating that, you know, there are things about us that we are just born with, and you have to say, is it nurture or nature? And it's just like, it's freaking nature, you guys. And it's just, I'm dippy. That's just me. And you could be like, oh, you're being hard on yourself. No, my friends. No, my friends. I do the dumbest things all the time. Like, all the time. Okay. So my radio in the van broke. for some reason, every time I tried to turn it down, it turned up. And I tried to turn it down and it turned up and it was so loud. And then I tried shutting it off and it was like blaring in my ears. And the poor kids were in the car and it was like earth shattering. So I put it in park in the middle of the road and then put my seat back all the way and just started like fist pounding it, and then used my foot and like beat the crap out of the radio, busted it all to crap. And eventually it shut off. And I went home and I told my husband, I said, I had to, like I had to smash it because it wouldn't shut off and it was so loud. He said, why didn't you just turn it to CD or like turn it to, you know, and I was just like, what? That would have been very clever. And I don't think of those things. And not only that, the radio going bananas in the first place would only happen to me. My wallet's been stolen like 6 times and just like ridiculous crap continues to happen to me and my mother and my grandma and my aunt who lives in England all the time. We're just like, it's weird. We are weirdos, and I'm born a weirdo and I've passed that weirdo gene down to my poor Abner. And Izzy seems to not have it so far, and Milo, well, who knows, he's too little to tell, but it's fascinating. So while I do think habits can change your life, I don't think it can change who you are, the core of you. You can just improve. It can just, you know, make things a little easier, better, make you happier, and have a little bit more success in life, but it isn't gonna change the fact that you're driving around with your groceries on the roof of your car weekly. That's just you. So anyways, I thought I'd share a little bit about my crazy family with you, and I'd love to know if you're a basket case too, or if you have a family member that's just the craziest crap happens to them. I'd love to know if we're not alone here. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.